The afternoon session of Reactor3. My name is Nick Brown-Pins and I'm from the Centre for Digital Music at Queen Mary, which is the University of London. We've sponsored this conference and we've sponsored some of the commissions that you'll see this evening at the evening event. So this session is called Interaction and Liveness, and in keeping with that we've actually changed some of the people who are talking. So first up we have Salvatore and Ariana from apparently www. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes called Rome, right?
Yeah, sometimes. For now, at least.
So Salvatore is a practitioner across science, art, and social engineering. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, mixture of both.
Sounds good.
That's pretty. Yeah, sounds great.
But he's going to give us a talk now, and
okay.
Your installation is also happening this evening.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Okay. Hello there. First of all, I'll briefly explain who we are. It's me and Oriana, who is back there making me nervous with the video camera. I come from various experiences, like I used to do music at rave parties, then I moved on to hacking practices when there was no World Wide Web, did several things, brought music composing software into subcultures in all around Italy. So, and Oriana, for example, has a totally different approach to technology, as she studied communication science, and she also worked in the Italian Parliament to promote several kinds of international initiatives, such as the Internet Governance Forum, which is by the United Nations to promote digital rights. So we have an approach to technology which is slightly more critical to society, to what we're seeing around here a bit. And actually enjoy it so much because it's really important to understanding what's going on in technology, what happens, what's new, what's cutting edge in many things, but it's also nice adding a critical approach to it because, for example, what I found out by interacting with many realities. I worked on subcultures, I work with commercial enterprises doing mobile games, security systems. She worked with governments. What I learned, for example, from all of this is that technology has a really radical political meaning. Many of our lives are determined by software because software stores our data, software stores allows us to do things. So there is an approach that goes way beyond gadgets or being able to doing visual art or 3D immersive environments and all. Both are important because one shapes the other. Okay, it's mutual. For example, what we are presenting today is a thing which happened. It's a really simple installation. The installation uses open source technologies. It's called Degradazione per Sovrapposizione di Corpi, which means degrading by superimposing bodies. And it was born on a particular situation. The installation is very simple. It uses an open source set of libraries. It's called Open Frameworks. To create an interaction that was originally done with a broom. You had a projection on the floor and you sweep the floor and you changed all the images. But I'll explain it in a bit. I'll explain the history behind it because it's actually more interesting. The installation is nice but really simple. The installation was born when the Italian government last year brought up a really hilarious law on copyright. They created this law that stated vague, indetermined rules according to which you could use copyrighted material for education, science. Mostly the rules were based on the concept of degrading things. You can use them in degraded form, which makes no sense because MP3 are degraded, JPEGs are degraded, with no parameters at all. So totally incompetent people that didn't know how to talk about technology felt that they could declare some undetermined rule according to which a professor could show images to their students. or maybe someone researching chemistry could use the images or CAD files of a molecule. It was totally hilarious and surreal. So what we did is to argue with this law in a surreal way, and we created an art movement that was called Degradarte, degraded art, which was a movement that was aimed, its objective was creating artworks that were fine with the law. So the objective of the movement was to take copyright protected material, degrade it in some form, and use it and show it up on a website that we pulled. We did an event on that. So it was stupid as the law. What the meaning of all this was that actually technology opens up spaces, spaces that can be practical, operational, so you can do many things with technology. Social, because you can relate to other people using technologies in many new innovative ways, which involve talking, exchanging content, and also now we are accessing really new dimensions which involve the body, which is another part of our research. If I have 1 minute later, maybe I'll talk about it a bit. The fact is that legislation, governments are always one step behind. So what we did is to create an event that was called Degradarte. It was inside a bigger event because we didn't have the money to organize it, so we just spotted the bigger event. In this event, we held an enormous conference in which lawyers, people from the government, university professor attended, and we talked about them about these subjects, about copyright. And they were actually really funny because they didn't know what to say, you know, because we tried to explain them what was going on. All the event was built around this thing, which, as I said, oh wait, this was another part of the installation. Is focused on two main concepts. First is the Degradarte, so an event and a fake art movement. For which we placed an international call. We received works of Degradarte from all over the world, with people putting it on blogs, on lots of social media. So there is this dimension which is political and social. And then we took the chance of this event to assess some of the other key issues that we are studying and researching on. First of all, the do-it-yourself approach, and in parallel the open source approach. What we do is mostly something that uses technology, but when we use technology we also try to have a critical approach on that. So we tend not to be cutting edge, we tend to be not really updated to the newest thing we can do, but we hold back a bit because we study what can be done with the things that many people have, okay? I saw many things that involve enormous architectures, enormous processing power, enormous technology. We tend to do things with things you have in your house, in your home, without much explanations needed. In fact, the Degradarte, you see, it is really simple. And then the concept of recycling. This was another part of the installation. It featured like monitors and all of this stuff, just to assess that we tend to recycle a lot, physically and conceptually. So physically, we get things and we reuse them. Conceptually, we take things that are existing, we reverse engineer them, and we use them for other purposes. And then the concept that technology, one of the most interesting things about technology is that creates a relational concept of architecture. So architecture is not only making buildings and designing the interiors of rooms. of rooms. It's more the design, is turning out to be more the design of how people can interrelate, how processes can interrelate. Everything, even people are beginning to be studied as processes. So what we do is study these processes and study how new forms of relationships can be created, or how old relationships can be created. For example, Degradarte, in the original version of Degradarte, the kind of interaction that you had with sweeping the floor with the broom, we had a version also with an ironing board where you iron the t-shirts and the graphics changed a lot. Was to bring down the inhibitions that people usually have with technology. So we brought them like household movements, gestures that everyone knows, okay? That they are really natural, that you have, you swap the floor sometimes in your life. To bring down inhibition, so you take a usual gesture and you turn it into something extraordinary because something happens. So this was the main key, and that's about it. So what we do is really short. It can be found in this website. So and this is the one I wanted to tell you about in a bit. So Art is open source, and Degradarte. Art is open source is our main website. Degradarte is the website of the art movement. And this is where we study the way technologies are going towards the body. For example, neorealismo virtuale is a term which we coined to assess this kind of research. So a new realism using virtuality, because we find that technology is opening up the possibilities to take objects, take physical spaces, take bodies, and add communicational and so immaterial domains into them. So turning them in something that is real and immaterial, virtual at the same time. So and also referring to the way in which when revolutions happen, the first impact right after revolution is usually called realism. Okay, that's about it.
Great. So thank you much. Have you got any questions from the floor? Standing slides. So I had some questions about you looked at sound as well. So you were doing visuals, degrading visuals.
Yeah.
Have you done any sound?
No, because we were assessing this exact law. The law was fantastic, in fact, because it only talked about visual material. Yeah. One thing we asked the government people was, what about text? What about sound? What about... they didn't know what to answer because they didn't think about it. They were not able to speak about these things.
So there's only a law for the...
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be a law...
Their main concern is what if I take an image of painting in Florence, which is protected by blah blah blah, and use it on something which is not a catalog from an art gallery. That was their main concern. No thinking about nothing else.
Well, there you go. Okay. This is going to be a great piece to be able to
sure, it's fine.
So any more questions?
It's a bit technical question. Could you recommend using open framework?
I think it's still need to be worked on. For example, this is really simple, so it's perfect. Okay. If you want to do, I did serious stuff with open frameworks, but I had to put lots of customized things on it. Their own art is open source if you want it. You gotta work on it a bit.
Yeah, I've seen some presentations from Theo Watson. Originally, you were the first one I met that uses it apart from it.
Yeah. So for example, one thing I did is build. It's another project we are doing now. It's a thing that connects your avatar on Second Life to your physical body, and using open frameworks on that as well. I had to do lots of additional parts of coding on that because the ones in open frameworks are really nice for the startup, for doing basic things. When you want to do more advanced things, you got to build on it a lot.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you. One last question. Oh, right at the back.
Just an observation really is, you were saying that you're using the movements of kind of household chores like ironing and sweeping break down people's inhibition of technology. But I imagine that these days most people would probably use a mouse and keyboard more than they do the iron.
Well, but in some way their mindset is kind of different because, for example, ironing a shirt, maybe don't do it in all your lifetime because someone does it for you. But it's something that, at least for now, okay, is you're more acquainted to. It's there, okay. For example, sweeping the floor. I had old ladies sweeping the floor and changing images. Okay, my mother doesn't know how to move a mouse. Okay, so in some way you're right, in some way you're not.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much again.
Okay.